Today's special meeting has been called for the purpose of discussing and taking any and all actions in relation to the City of Miami Police Chief Art Acevedo and the adoption of any pertinent resolutions. The members of the City Commission participating in today's meeting are Commissioner Manuel Reyes, Commissioner Joe Carollo, Commissioner Jeffrey Watson, myself, and Commissioner Ken Rosso has been excused from the meeting. We will now start the meeting with a prayer by Commissioner Manuel Reyes. Commissioner, you're recognized, sir. Will you all stand?
Please stand, bow your heads. I think that we have a lot of praying to do, and also we have a lot of thanks to give the Lord for giving us the opportunity and giving us the power to be able to serve our people. And we, as a legislative body, we have the responsibility of looking after our city, after our constituents, after the residents, and also after the public safety of our residents. So, Lord, please guide us so we can make the right decision, enlighten us, and guide us into the path of making the decision that it is just and a decision that will benefit our residents. I ask you in the name of the Father, the Holy Son. Amen.
Amen. The flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for your prayer. Madam City Attorney, please state the procedures to be followed today at the special meeting.
Thank you, Chairman. Any person who is a lobbyist pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code must register with the clerk and comply with related city requirements. For lobbyists, before appearing before the City Commission, a person may not lobby a city official, board member, or staff member until registering. A copy of the Lobbyist Code section is available at the City Clerk's office or online at www.municode.com. Any person making a presentation, formal request, or petition to the City Commission concerning real property must make the appropriate disclosures in writing. A copy of this code section is available at the office of the City Clerk or online at www.municode.com. The City of Miami requires anyone requesting action by the City Commission to disclose before the hearing any consideration provided or committed to anyone for agreement to support or withhold objection pursuant to Section 2-8. The material for each item on the agenda is available during business hours at the City Clerk's office and online 24 hours a day at www.miamigov.com. Any person may be heard by the City Commission through the chair for not more than 2 minutes on any proposition before the City Commission unless modified by the chair. The public comment will begin at approximately 10 a.m. and remain open until closed by the chair.
11:30.
Sorry, 11:30. Members of the public wishing...
It cannot be a script, Vicky. You gotta, come on.
Sorry, I apologize. Members of the public wishing to address the public may do so in writing via the online comment form. Visit www.miamigov.com. Meeting instructions for detailed instructions on how to provide public comment using the online comment form. The comments submitted through the comment form have been and will be distributed to the elected officials and city administration throughout the day so the elected officials can consider the comments prior to taking any action. Additionally, the online comment form will remain open during the meeting to accept comments and distribute to elected officials. Public comment may also be provided at City Hall, located at 3500 Pan American Drive, subject to any and all rules as may be amended. If the proposition is being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the city takes action on such proposition. When addressing the City Commission, the member of the public may first state his or her name, his or her address, and what item will be spoken about. A person requiring disability assistance, auxiliary aids, and services for this meeting may notify the City Clerk. The city has provided different public comment methods to indicate the public support, opposition, or neutrality on items to be discussed pursuant to 286.01144C before the Commission takes any action. The public has been given the opportunity to provide the comment within reasonable proximity of such meeting. Commissioners have been briefed by city staff and the city attorney on items on the agenda today. Anyone wishing to, the access for this meeting will be on Miami TV, miamigov.com, the city's Facebook page, the city's Twitter page, and the city's YouTube channel, and Comcast channel 77. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. Commissioner Reyes, you wanted to be recognized, sir? You're recognized.
Yes, sir. And before we start all this, start this meeting, I want to start by addressing the memo that we received. And everybody knows about a memo that has some accusations made against particularly the three Cubans in this commission. And as I always had stated, even with my campaigns, and there were many campaigns before I got elected, I always stated that we are going to have transparency in our dealings in the city of Miami. And instead of me answering one by one any of those accusations and allegations, I am proposing, I would say, an investigation. I want a full investigation, and that is going to be in the form of a resolution. And I want the city attorney to please read that resolution, and it could be added. You can add, and we can. But I think that it is of the utmost importance that those accusations and those, statements be thoroughly investigated by an outside investigator. And to that effect, I will recommend somebody, and any of the commissioners can recommend anybody, but that is going to be hired by the city attorney and will answer only to the commission, and would have subpoena power where all the witnesses can call witnesses inside the city of Miami, outside of the city of Miami, from all departments. Madam City Manager, could you please read?
Thank you for the promotion to city manager.
Yeah,
but
city
I will-
attorney.
I will pass that back over.
I'm not sure you really want that title today. Maybe
No.
it's a conversation to have a different day. But and I can't say the city attorney, but you said statements. Can I say lies, or I can't say that word? Use that word.
Well, it's going to be determined. It's going to be determined in that fully investigation, and
Okay,
then let the chips fall with it.
Okay.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that I'm very clear on the record, because everything that I think we've said, and I'm going to recognize some other commissioners because you already started, very clear that I consider them lies, outright lies. And I think it's important that we say the truth.
Absolutely.
Publicly. There's nothing
But-
private here.
but-
It's very transparent, right? So but before they read the resolution, do you want to read the resolution the commissioner is proposing, or do you want me to open the discussion? You want a resolution first?
Let's, and
So,
then,
if
I may, Mr. Chairman, after we have this resolution, we can vent everything,
understand.
and we can go over this and okay?
Okay, and remember, we're not doing any public displays here today, sir. We're not doing any of that. We're going to open public comment, because now we have a resolution, so we're going to open public comment. Everyone's going to have an opportunity hold on. I know, I know, I love that flag, we just pledge allegiance to it. We're going to have public comment so everyone can give their opinion. It's an important issue, obviously we can see. It's an important issue for our city, but the commissioners are the duly elected officials here, and they're the ones that are going to give their opinion. So what we're going to do is we're going to recognize we're going to recognize the city attorney to read the resolution, and then we'll open up the debate. Are you okay? Hold on a second.
Hold on. Then let me tell you,
Commissioner Carollo, hold on a
Sure,
second.
sure.
Hold on. Let's have her read whatever it is.
Okay, let
and
her
then we'll
read
open it up to you, Commissioner Carollo, and we
Yes.
can take it from, is that okay?
Well, what I'd like to address the steps that I think we should do, including what I have proposed.
So you're recognized, Commissioner Carollo.
Thank you. When I called this special commission meeting in asking this body to approve the calling of this meeting, I stated at the time that I intended to exercise and present to this body the legislative powers that the charter gives this commission to investigate. Section 14, commission may investigate official transaction acts and conducts that include subpoena powers. Now, I made that clear, and this is part of why I am particularly, but three of us have been targeted because Mr. Acevedo, I think, thought that he would intimidate me or some of us to bow down to him so he could really do whatever he pleases here. And yes, we've always acknowledged this. He is an employee of the city manager. However, we are the legislative body here. We're not, excuse me, can this person get taken out of here?
Sergeant Garcia,
taken
can you
out of
please
here.
remove the person from the room?
I don't
Thank you.
know.
I got it, Commissioner, don't worry. We're okay. We're
I don't
aware
know
of
what he said, what he wants, but, we do things in America by the rule of law, no matter what the opinion is.
Absolutely.
And we're going to keep that during this hearing. Having said that, what I respectfully would request is the following: that this would be the last thing that we deal with today, because I think it's imperative that we ask the manager a series of questions
Yes.
as to how we ended up with Mr. Acevedo here. And that was his right, and I respect it as the manager. At the same time, I want to go through a series of information that I've been sent on Mr. Acevedo in his tenure in California, in Austin, Texas, and Houston, Texas, and inquire of the city manager, did he know any of that, what vetting he did, what background checks he made, because all that is pertinent, and it has to be placed on the record, because it will show why we're here today.
Yes.
And then the second part that I would like to bring is the tenure and actions of Mr. Acevedo while he's been in the city of Miami. And you will see that it's a rerun in many respects of what happened in California and what happened in Austin and in Houston, Texas. Now, Mr. Acevedo has spoken through his 8-page memo, and I assure you he'll have the opportunity to speak again under oath at the appropriate time. It is our time now as the legislative body, and it is our right, because we're the elected officials. We're not here, as Mr. Acevedo apparently thinks, to be a decoration on the wall and have to kneel down to and agree to everything that he wants. And that's precisely, if we would be intimidated and back away from going forward with this meeting today, that he would have accomplished, that he would have no accountability, would do whatever he pleases in the city. And this is not the way the charter of the city of Miami reads. The manager is in charge of employees, and he has a right to hire and fire, and we respect that. But this is the legislative body that's duly elected, and we legislate, and particularly in budgets. That's one of the key provisions that this body has, any legislative body has.
The most important one.
Yes, and apparently, Mr. Acevedo wants to take that away from us too. Now, I propose to this commission that we move forward in those 3 points. Starting asking the city manager the process that he did in investigating, vetting, then I will go in and read into the record a lot of things. That's why I asked for a special commission meeting. That needs to be aired so what we could see, first of all, how much of that the city manager knew or not, and secondly of all, how much of that reflects on the actions that we have seen so far from him and actions that I will be discussing as reflects of Mr. Acevedo in the city of Miami. Lastly, I would respectfully request that we then deal with Section 14 of the city charter and institute this commission as an investigative panel of the city of Miami commission with subpoena powers. Now, only when we get to that point, before we take any action on voting, is when the public has a right by code to address this chamber, and it will be only on this issue that I have stated. And we will read it into the record. And in fact, if I'm allowed to, I'll
Of course,
read it
sir.
now.
And
so
that's
that-
exactly the way we're going to do it, Commissioner.
Section 14, commission may investigate official transactions, acts, and conduct. The mayor, city commission, or any committee thereof may investigate the financial transactions of any office or department of the city government and the official acts and conduct of any city official, and by similar investigations may secure information upon any matter in conducting such investigations. The mayor, city commission, or any committee thereof may require the attendance of witnesses in the production of books, papers, and other evidence, and for that purpose may issue subpoenas, which shall be signed by the presiding officer of the city commission or the chair of such committee, as the case may be, which may be served and executed by any police officer. So this would be the area that once we open public hearing, that the public can address itself to, because this is the only point that this body will be voting upon unless there's a difference of opinion here and there's something else that might be brought forward that every member of the commission would have the right to.
I like that approach, so we can have our debate here with our city manager.
Okay.
Who by city charter is the one who picks the police chief, so you have to have a right to make your statement at the appropriate time. I'm sure you have one. But Commissioner Reyes, you recognize.
Let me make perfectly clear that what I am proposing does not preclude us to go over all the lies or accusation. No,
That's right.
it doesn't preclude any public comment. It doesn't preclude any opinions from anybody. The only thing that it states is that I want an investigation, that we are not afraid of an investigation. Because in that memo, those people that read the memo, it states clearly that he is sending information, and he mentioned everybody but the KGB. You see, he is sending information to the
KGB. That's the last one left, right?
everybody. He's sending information and requesting an investigation from everybody, okay? So I'm going to double down on it. It's going to say we want an investigation by, I respectfully disagree that it will be us. I want somebody that it is not even close to us, and I will say an independent investigator, and to that effect, I'm thinking about an ex-FBI investigative director of the South Florida, You see?
Commissioner?
Hold on a second,
Well,
Commissioner. Let me finish, please.
Yeah,
Okay?
Let's
Let me express.
let's bring the temperature down so
Okay.
we can all have our
Absolutely.
say.
I
Yeah.
mean, we
can't bring the KGB into the mix into the mix because that would be dictatorial
Okay.
in nature, and we're not.
Okay,
That's not
but
us. That's somebody else's role.
what I'm referring is that he got all the agencies that he mentioned that he's going to. We welcome an investigation. We welcome an investigation, and to that effect, we're going to start an investigation. And in that investigation, it also touches and includes the allegation that the chief was in a car accident, any and other reported misconduct, but investigate into the process and how the chief was selected. You see, investigate everything. Let's investigate everything, and that's what I'm proposing. And I'm proposing this. This could be reformed, added, and this not preclude to go through the process here where every single one of those lies we can rebut them. You see? But I want an investigation, and I want an impartial, an outside investigator to investigate us and investigate the chief, the process that have been doing, the process of selecting what's going on with the sergeant of arms, everything. Let's bring everything out in the open. That's why that is, and doesn't doesn't preclude all the information that I think that should be brought out. I know that you have a lot of information, Commissioner, and I welcome that. I want to hear it also.
I think
Okay.
I think the line of questioning that Commissioner Carollo, I'm assuming you have in place because I kind of know you, and what you have in place here is an important conversation to have in
Absolutely.
the public. So there's no
Absolutely.
no inference or no suggestion that anything's being done privately because that's not
Yeah.
true. That's an outright lie. But I think our manager, who picked the chief, has a right, I think, to make a statement and say something and see
Yes.
where.
Okay.
Manager, the question will be, where do we go from here?
Well,
That's how we start.
Commissioner, can I bring us back to
But I want the
Focus,
manager to make.
focus.
Yeah, we are.
on the day's business?
But I want to make sure the manager, Commissioner, if I may, I want to make sure, if you allow me, I want to make sure the manager gives his point of view early on so that we understand where he stands, and we'll be very brief.
Right,
And then we go with a lot of
all that I
questions.
want to do is kind of establish the order of the day.
You want to set the
And I
tone.
agree with you.
The order of the day.
Yeah.
And of course, the manager would have that opportunity.
So you want him to do it after?
Well, no, I just want to establish the order of the day, and then,
Okay.
you could go to the manager. But
Okay.
look, what
So
Commissioner
I'm sorry, so
Reyes-
Commissioner Carollo, you're
Yeah,
recognized.
thank you.
Okay.
What Commissioner Reyes is stating could be an addition to what I am requesting. I have no problem with that. I want to be very clear, Commissioners. This is what, they say page memos. I've seen these games before with this type of police chief. The last one that I saw like this, frankly, was from a much savvier former police chief, a lot smarter than this one. And he ended up in jail, arrested by the FBI. Remember him? Yes. Now, Donald Warshaw, if some of you weren't around to remember. So I've been around this one. In fact, from the tone of some of the stuff that were written, how they were written, I almost get the impression that they were trying to copy and mirror some of this other manure of information. This 8-page memos has so little credibility. Do you think that the Justice Department is going to want to get involved in a petty political investigation down here and the petty stuff that this man has put forward? He knows that that's not so. In fact, the way that he was wording things was to give the impression he had gone to the Justice Department already, but then what he really is trying to say, and he words it in such a way so that he tries to intimidate us, but when he's finally put under oath, he could say, no, what I talked to the Justice Department was about this. He tries to smear the Miami Police Department by throwing blood for sharks, the media, and maybe he gets a bite from the Justice Department if somebody there on this issue might want to have an interest, that there are police officers that have been abusive, that have used excessive force incorrectly, and that senior officers, some have covered it up. Now, if he would have been telling me that he was talking about his main defender and his henchman, Javi Ortiz, I could believe it. But the worst abuser of our citizens and residents in Miami and the state of Florida, that's his henchman that he's been protecting, and he's given carte blanche to go out in the streets when he was not being able to go in the streets allowed to go in the streets by the prior police chief. I'm to believe that he really cares about that? I mean, this is laughable. So, Commissioner, what this is all about is what is called, I guess he would call it, Cuban mafia slang. It's called pataleo. For those that don't understand that Spanish slang word in Cuban, Spanish,
Scrambling.
pataleo means, so it's much more than scrambling. It means running scared like hell. That's what it means.
Yeah.
And this is what this guy is doing. And he's got to run chump if he thinks I'm going to be intimidated by his 8-page memo. Now, having said that, if we could agree to the procedure of business today, we could let the manager say anything that he wants. I certainly will ask him questions. It's not my intention to try to put the manager against the wall, but there are questions that need to be answered. For instance, Mr. Manager, and this one, since I brought this up, I'd really like to get out of the way.
Sure.
When was the first time that Mr. Acevedo came to you with this tale of all this use of force by our police officers and cover-ups by higher-ups that needed to be investigated? When was the first time that he came to you with that?
Mr. Manager?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, the first time the chief referenced his concern relative to that and a need to investigate that or look into that, and it was more a casual reference, it wasn't really in any formal setting, I wasn't being briefed, was probably done roughly about a week or two ago.
Okay, so it's roughly in a casual setting about a week ago. Now,
Wait a minute, a week ago?
yeah,
But that contradicts some of the, okay.
of
Thank you.
course, of course, it's a total contradiction.
That's the
of what
first,
you
that's the
stated.
first of, I'm sure, many contradictions
No,
we're gonna
but
find
but I
during the
wanna-
course
I
of the
wanna point
day.
it out.
So,
I wanna point it out.
let the manager,
Sure.
let the manager, and then
Wanna make sure.
and then I'll recognize you, Commissioner Reyes. Let the manager answer, of course it's a contradiction, because I didn't find out about it until way after that, right? Maybe a couple of days ago. So in essence, when was the first time that he addressed this issue, was Commissioner Carollo was asking. So can you be more precise in your language in explaining that to us?
I don't know that I can get into any more detail than that, other than he made it as part of a reference, part of another meeting we were having. It wasn't anything that was specific to that issue. It wasn't a formal briefing or anything like that. He expressed his concerns. It's relatively recent. So, there's really nothing more to add to that. I mean, that's the extent of which the conversation was very brief.
But that's a pretty serious accusation against a police force and the rank and file of this department, which by the way, I just want to say to be very clear, I stand with you guys. All right? Because I know the rank and file is not happy with what this police chief has done. Forget what he's done to us in that silly memo. I mean, what he's done to the morale of the department. The people have been through hell and high water here for decades, and this guy comes from outside and all of a sudden says, hey, I know better than all of you, I'm the great reformer. So we need to know the timeline, right, Commissioner Carollo, of when all these different things happened so that we have an understanding of how it came to this point.
Yeah, look, and we're talking specific to the information outlined in the memo as it relates to use of force.
Yes, sir.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, this
I mean,
is
he had
what-
expressed
For
concerns
now.
on other issues prior to
no,
that.
for now,
But
yeah.
we're talking about specifically on the issue of use of force.
Yes,
That was the only question
Yeah.
that was the other question.
we asked right now was on that. And I submit to this body and to the manager that is not believable of Mr. Acevedo that if he is so concerned that he's rushing to the Justice Department, he went to the Pentagon, he went to National Security Agency, maybe even went to see its sister CIA, and went to every other agency.
KGB.
that he would not have been giving you information of his concerns and briefing you like it's his duty as his boss, the manager, of what he's finding. All of a sudden, he finds this a week before. He knows this is coming, and he's heard from the legislative side of government up here. So I just want to have that on the record. What this man has put down is not believable. And it's outrageous that he is trying to smear the reputation of the City of Miami Police Department with something like this when his number one henchman, his right hand that he took out of the dungeon and gave carte blanche with unlimited overtime to roam the streets again, the number one abuser of our residents, the one guy in the state of Florida that has the worst record of any police officers of beating up residents, and the majority have been African Americans, by the way, even though he didn't limit himself to that. And this is the guy that he's protecting, and in return, the same character is protecting Mr. Acevedo, like we will get into shortly here. Now, Mr. Manager, through you, if I may,
Yes, sir.
because you're not going to have the answers to this right in front of you, can you ask the Angela to come up, our Director of Personnel?
Ms. Roberts. There you are. Good morning.
Gentlemen.
Good morning, Ms. Roberts. Could you state in the record your official position in the City of Miami and what you do?
Director of Human Resources.
Okay. And what do you do as Director of Human Resources?
I oversee about 7 divisions in the Department of Human Resources: recruitment, testing, labor relations, medical. I'm forgetting some of them right now, but you get the.
It's understandable. We understand. Could you tell us what is the amount, dollar amount, of Mr. Acevedo's package, salary, benefits? In other words, what the City of Miami has to pay out on a yearly basis for his whole package, including salary?
If I remember correctly, it was over 400,000, and that's including everything. That's the
Okay.
total package.
But-
That's
but-
workers' comp and all of
If
that.
I may, Commissioner, just I think you should probably have a precise answer for us. How much salary, how much in benefits and all that, but I think it's around that amount also. I
Well,
think it's about 415.
you-
But-
Can you give me one moment? I
Well,
have
ma'am,
it right
ma'am,
there. I can get
Ms.
it.
Roberts, with all due respect, I thought you would kind of have that readily available. You kind of knew what the meeting was going to be about.
Well,
I mean,
but truly, Commissioner,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
We
Just
didn't
be
ask
more
this
precise in your answer.
We didn't
please.
ask this before per
Yes,
getting hit
sir.
by surprise.
Yes, sir.
so
I agree. I agree.
I could understand that.
Yes.
No problem.
Go ahead, ma'am. You have it in front of you now,
I
right?
have it now.
Yes.
So his actual salary is $315,000.
Okay.
His automobile allowance is,
Six.
for the year, is $6,000. His cell phone allowance for the year is $2,400.
Okay.
His workers' compensation is $24,297.66.
Okay.
His FOP Health Trust, that's the benefits, that's
53?
Yes, sir. $53,661.61
Okay.
For what again?
for his health
Health
benefits.
benefits.
And then for his 401 ICMA, it's $31,500. And then his Medicare
Medicare.
is $4,689.30. His total package is $437,548.57. That's his complete total package.
Mr. Chair,
Wow.
Mr. Chair, may I?
No.
No, hold on. Commissioner Carroll still recognized, he can follow up on his
I have to-
question.
I have to do. Well, no. I just want to finish it and then you can take over.
Yes, Commissioner, I'll recognize you, Commissioner Reyes,
I-
I'll recognize you right after. This,
Yeah, I don't want to lose track of where I'm heading with this.
yeah, the train of
Angela,
thought.
Ms. Roberts, if you could stay there for 1 second.
Yes, sir.
So I'll be coming right back to you. Mr. Manager,
Okay.
during the tenure, the approximately 5.5 months that Mr. Acevedo has been an employee of the city of Miami, you are aware that he hasn't been in the city of Miami in numerous times, correct?
Yes, sir, he has, I think on a few occasions, had to go back for trials or testimonies, I think, in terms of.
But not for us.
No.
for something that
for
has to
prior
do
job.
with-
Correct.
And it's
His
more
problems
than a
back in
few,
Houston.
and it's more than a few.
Yeah, well,
It's more than a few.
that's what I understand. For instance, I'm here 7 days a week, and I think Ms. Roberts would agree that none of us here makes more than, including benefits and salary, that not even a quarter of what Mr. Acevedo makes. But I'm going to tell you this, I put a heck of a lot more hours than he does in this job. But my question to you, Mr. Manager, how has this worked when he takes off? Because I was told, like, the weekend before last, he was in Houston and I don't know if it was a football game or what kind of sport activity. And then I heard something, he took off. He wasn't here that Friday before. I've heard different times he wasn't here. For instance, when we had the event sponsored by the city in Bayfront Park, the Patria Vida, Abajo Cadenas event, he didn't come back to the city until the night before, I understand. He was out. It was Assistant Chief Morales that worked from the police department side on the event. How does it work? Does he inform you when he's going to be out of town? Does he give you a record? How is that kept?
Yeah,
Mr. Manager?
he's required to submit a leave request for times heading out.
Do you
He's
have
going to be out of work.
Do you have that record?
Yeah, we should have those leave requests in his file.
Okay, but
I've seen
for the record,
Okay.
he has taken time off since he's been here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Roberts, can you come back now, please? Thank you. What does the record show, Ms. Roberts, on times that Mr. Acevedo has taken off, whether vacation, sick, any of the forms that you have? for time off?
Currently in the Oracle system, it does not show him as taking any vacation or any sick time.
Okay? And that would be the only way the city would know in the future, or in the present, correct? At the
Yes,
end,
sir.
for payouts or for anything.
Yes, sir.
And, I'm not even sure what his contract states, but I would imagine that he could take some sick time, vacation time, like any police chief or department director like that could do, anytime they leave the city in the future.
Correct. His benefit packet, he get 20 days per year with a maximum of 15 days to be taken consecutively.
Right, but my question is not that. My question is, how many of those days that if he's here for X amount of time and he doesn't use those days, how many of those does he carry over?
And is it logged, right?
I'm sorry,
Is it logged? I mean, is there like a log of days that he takes off? I would think the city would follow up, right, on if somebody goes to Houston or wherever, that he's not there that Friday or that Saturday or that Monday, that you don't have a record of that? Or he has not submitted a form?
Correct.
He has
would
not
have-
submitted the form.
Yes, sir. He would have to submit a form, the normal procedure, he would have to submit a form to his payroll staff. The payroll staff would then input it into the Oracle system. And once they input into the Oracle system, then the Oracle system will show on the vacation accrual, page, how many days he's taken, and then the same for sick. Now, sick, you don't necessarily have to fill out a form. Sick, you can call in because it is for medical purposes. And the same thing, payroll would enter it, and it would show on the Oracle page, sick page.
But again, going back to my original question, does he have anything in his contract, if it is a contract that was given to him, or is there anything that's standard procedure for department directors in his category, or is it mute, that once an individual leaves employment with the city, that unused, or what percent of unused sick hours, vacation hours, leave hours they could take with them?
So normally for an employee, they would get paid their sick leave. I'm just giving you a general. And depending on their number of years here, they would get paid their vacation years, and then depending on the number of years here, they could get paid sick. Now, as far as it concerns the chief,
I'm saying to take with him, if, whatever time in the future he decides to leave service, what provisions are there that if he's got unused
got you.
time, that he could cash in on it?
His package does not dictate, upon separation, the chief of police shall receive payment of any unused vacation and sick leave. That's why I was pausing. I was looking for that. I'm sorry.
I thought so. So if it would be one of us, the chief would be asking the Justice Department to come in, the FBI, the Pentagon, National Security Agency to come in
KGB.
and be investigated, and for us to be arrested for obstruction. Mr. Manager, you have heard what your director of employment in the city has stated. Now, this is part of the problem that we've been having with Mr. Acevedo. Thank God this ain't Texas. It's Miami. And we don't get intimidated that easily in Miami. We've gone through too much in this city. We're not perfect by far in Miami. Our police department is not perfect by far. But as I stated before, any one of our assistant police chiefs that he'd like to push them all out, either himself or to make it impossible so they leave, like some are thinking of doing already, would have made a better police chief than Mr. Acevedo. This is a prime example of do as I say, not as I do. That he feels that he can do whatever he pleases, that he's not accountable to anyone, not accountable to the city manager, not accountable to the residents of Miami, not accountable, period.
And I think Commissioner Reyes, before you go on, Commissioner Carollo, I think Commissioner Reyes wanted to make a quick comment, and then I'll go back to you, Commissioner Carollo.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to remind my fellow commissioners, which is does not interfere with the line of questioning that Commissioner Carollo is having, which I think it is needed. But I would like Vicky to read what I what I was proposing, man.
Well, we're going to bring it up.
No, we're going to bring it up, but I want everybody we have left this up in the air, and I'm sorry for me to start in this, but then we can keep going on. The press already has.
And by the way, I don't have an issue with that, Commissioner Carollo. If she could read it into the record, and
That's
we're
right.
not going to
Just
open
read
a
it.
public comment.
Because it goes directly.
We're going to allow
No, hold on
the
a
line
second.
of question. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. We're going to allow the line of questioning that has to take place. Everybody knows
That's
that.
right.
From
That's right.
Commissioner Carollo, from you, to Commissioner Watson, and the manager is going to give us his opinion along the way, right? But if you want me to bring it up, I'll bring it up. Is that okay with you, Commissioner Carollo? And then we won't open public comment.
Just
Yes.
a minute. Listen. Just in the spirit.
Just remember that.
I think that
some people-
not everybody wants to
that
hear
some
it,
people-
but
just remember that some
maybe the
people-
public wants to hear it.
Just remember that some people like to divide and conquer.
Yes.
And we're not gonna allow that to happen today.
Oh, no.
That's not gonna happen here.
No, that's
right?
not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
It's an old tactic that some people
Yes.
use. People are not from
Yes,
here in particular
yes,
use
yes.
those kind of tactics. So what I would like to do is go ahead and read it into the record so we have it, but not make it.
No one to argue. We don't going to comment on it, but
Right.
make
I got
any
it.
comments on it, but I just wanted,
So let's go ahead, Madam.
because it could be a starting point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A starting point for what we should do.
Madam Attorney, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes would like an investigation into the process of assignment and selection of sergeant-at-arms and the operational procedures in place to determine their duties in general. In addition, he would want to investigate what process is in place to resolve any internal conflict or interference of sergeant-at-arms in their assignments. Commissioner Reyes would like an investigation into how the chief was selected to include but not limited to any vetting of the chief prior to employment with the city, whether there was any conflict or overreach in his selection by any member of the city of Miami. The commissioner would also like to investigate any and all misconduct by any member of the city of Miami to include elected officials and the police chief in relation to allegations the chief has raised in his memo dated September 24, 2021. And he would also like an investigation into the following: the allegation that the chief was in a car accident and any and all reported misconduct by the chief at the police department. Thank you.
Do you have an amendment, Commissioner Carollo, to that for now, or do you want to have a line of questioning?
It's read into the record. The only thing that I respectfully request that we vote upon all this at the end?
Yes, sir,
Yes, right.
absolutely. Commissioner Reyes wanted it to
All
be
right.
read into the record, it's read into the
Read in
record.
the record.
Very good.
And we're done with that for now.
Okay, now,
We have public comment, everything else coming, but
just-
Commissioner
Now keep
Carollo, you're
on coming.
recognized.
okay.
You have the floor.
You have the floor, and,
Haven't had Angela Roberts state to us that Mr. Acevedo has, in his official record, put no time offs. The manager stated the same, that of what the manager actually stated was that there were times that he knows for a fact that the chief is not here in the city of Miami. And the one time that you mentioned, that was his private dealings in Houston. It's got nothing to do with us whatsoever. So residents of Miami should not be paying for whatever is going on in Houston and his problems in Houston that he left. But what I will say in this, before I move forward, is that if any police officer would have done this, any police officer would not have filled in the proper information that had to be filled out for time off, and Mr. Acevedo would have had that, he would have fired them, unless they were part of his A team, the Acevedo team, like Javier Ortiz and a few other rogue cops. Now, let's move on from there. Mr. Manager, with all due respect, and I mean that, can you tell us to the best of your ability, what was the vetting, the investigation that you did on Mr. Acevedo before he was hired and before he was brought to the city of Miami? And I'm saying that because I truly feel that there's a lot that you didn't know before you made that decision.
So to the extent that he was vetted, how the chief was actually introduced as a candidate was through a conversation I had with the mayor. The mayor obviously has resources at U.S. Conference of Mayors and
Sure.
a lot of contacts there.
Yeah.
It was kind of discussed. I knew who Chief Acevedo was. I'd seen him obviously on TV a number of times, but didn't have a personal relationship with him. There was discussion we were having relative to the pool of candidates, and more particularly, kind of keeping our ear to the ground on the idea of bringing somebody from the outside, something you and I had talked about numerous occasions.
That's a possibility,
Yeah,
even though
yeah.
I was very clear that I felt that we had two internal candidates that were part of the three candidates that you stated to us were the finalists. And I felt that two of those were extremely qualified to be our police chief.
So, in continuing that conversation, so good, bad, or indifferent, right? His name came up. Obviously, the mayor has a relationship with the current mayor in Houston. He connected us. The mayor spoke to him, I spoke to him, and he had nothing but positive things to say about the chief in particular. Obviously, he'd been a sitting chief there for almost 5 years. And obviously had a history in Austin as 9 years as police chief, and left Austin to take the Houston job. Did we do a in-depth vetting of him? No, we took his
word.
status, no, not his word per se, but his status as a chief and the people that he worked with and for directly, the Mayor Turner being an example of that. And so, at some point, it really came down to whether or not he was qualified for the job per se, just on his professional background. We felt he was. Felt he was somebody that could come in from the outside and really affect change, because we all felt like there was some change required and some change necessary. I think where we're at today, in particular, is a function of the style and the manner of which that change is effectuated, right? And a lot of what's boiled to this point is a function of the approach from the chief and how that has created a lot of adversity for him with this elected body, and certainly with some within the department. And so I think it's entirely more a style issue than an issue of qualifications. Whatever concerns you're going to bring up, Commissioner Carollo, certainly I wasn't aware of. That's on me. If there is anything there that's damning.
But
We're gonna go through
but to mischaracterize it as a question of style, I think everybody in their right mind understands the style really stinks, right? We got that already, right? The style is not good. I think it's also a question of substance, and I think that's important. And I think for you to dismiss it as style is not correct.
No.
And I don't think you think that, because you and I have had a number of private conversations. So if you could be more clear on that, we've had private conversations on this over the last 3 or 4 days. It's not a question only of style, right?
Oh, no, it's style, it's approach, it's a lot of issues relative to, the manner in which change is effectuated, right? His style differs from mine. That's not anything that certainly is problematic per se, because we each have our own management style.
Sure.
Mine is different from his. I tend to be a lot more low-key and a little more methodical in the way I do things. He takes a different tact. Ultimately, he's been on the job 5 months, a little over 5 months, and we're at a point we are at now. And clearly, the issuance of this memo, the creation of this meeting, speaks to the fact that we have certainly ventured into an area that is highly problematic, because if anybody from the administration is in a position where they're in conflict with our elected officials to the level that this has gotten, I won't speak to the accusations in the memo, because there are accusations that relate to a criminal investigation or investigation.
Sure,
so I'm not going to speak to that.
But hold on a second. And I'm going to recognize you, Commissioner Reyes. Hold on a second. It's not right that you characterize this as a battle between a police chief and 3 elected officials, or 4 or 5. The problem, that's not the way to characterize this. That's not what's happening here. In his own department, the rank and file, his own members, they did a poll, right? I mean, I'm not saying anything improper, am I, Madam Attorney? There's a poll, right, that they did. And so the problem, his conflict, is with his own department. He's trying to reframe that debate to pretend it's political in nature. After all the gaffes and missteps that he's done here in 5 months, I've never seen anybody make so many mistakes in such a short period of time. And he's not even a politician, right? Right? He's right. Well, he thinks he is, but he's not, right? So at the end of the day, I don't think it's proper for us to allow for you to frame it as us versus him, because that's not what's happening here.
That's not what I
Well,
said.
what you said is,
No.
you said it 4 times. You
Not
said with elected officials.
And
his problem is with his own department.
It's
Own department.
It's a combination of things, correct?
Correct.
I started with that because that's the forum we're discussing now. It's the 4 of you here now, right, that called the meeting.
Because he issued a memo to try to reframe and shift the focus into something else. And a memo, I can say this, right, Madam Attorney, full of lies, as you know, to try to shift the focus. We all know what the problem is. He's just, he's a square peg in a round hole in Miami. And he doesn't even fit in with his own department. So how can you be a department head, right? And the people you're heading or you're leading don't like you. have not met one single police officer that I've had many conversations, and I'd love to say it publicly because everything I do is public, that tells me, other than the 4 or 5 people hang around with him, tell me anything positive about him. He's lowered morale tremendously. People feel unsafe, they can't do their jobs. There's a contract that's pending. There's a whole bunch of things that are happening, right? And we have to protect our police department, our police officers who risk their lives every day for us. And not chastise them, not attack them, not crucify them without due process. So that's his problem. It's with them, not with us. Our job is to protect them and to protect the department, to protect our city. So that's the only objection I have to the comment that you made. You said it 4 times. With certain elected officials, that's not the case here. That's what he wants. That's what he wants these guys back here to believe.
But Commissioner,
Hold on. That's what he wants the press to believe. That he is a great reformer that came to reform and get rid of the Cuban mafia, right? To get rid of the bad guys, because we're all the corrupt ones, right? And he's a great reformer, and the police department is all corrupt. He's going to clean it up. He's going to do whatever the heck he wants to do without any due process, without any conversations, without any debate. He comes in and he says, hey, I'm the great guy. I'm the last, not white hope, the last Cuban hope that comes to Miami. And then we're supposed to take the hit. I'm not going to allow that to happen. He's not going to reframe that debate the way he wants to frame it. He's not going to redefine that debate because the debate's very obvious. And the conclusions, and we all know where this is going at the end of the day. How it gets there is a different conversation. I'm going to ask you that a little bit later, right? I can ask that. I can ask his opinion as city manager, how we get where we need. Eventually, we all know where we're going to get, right? I think. Again, public, Commissioner Reyes, you're recognized.
At the end of the day, I just wanted to clarify this memo that addresses inquiry. This commission did inquiry with regard to status of an investigation, not interfered with an investigation.
Yes. Okay.
Second, the commission is able to address budgetary issues. And lastly, and more importantly, that the charter allows for the commission to be able to give its opinion on matters. At the end of the day, all the things addressed in the memo are things that are allowed by charter. It's just an interpretation of what the chief felt was occurring. More than anything, it is all allowed by charter. You can inquire, you can set the budget. So, thank you.
I hate to use the word defund. We could also defund his position, right? The 458,000, whatever the heck that is.
Which
Right?
commission?
The $437,548.
And allocate
which
different
That
police officers.
obscene amount of money.
And
Right, and
57
then you
Right?
can allocate other police
Commissioner,
officers. Yes.
let me,
Commissioner Reyes, you're
yes,
recognized,
right.
sir. I'm sorry. I
And
apologize.
going back to that salary, I objected, as I did object to the process that was by which this, or lack of process, by which this chief was chosen. And Mr. City Manager, it is very simple. You see, you would have known everything that he had done in Houston. There's something called Google. You see, it is, I mean, it is very helpful. And I know all about him.
You know Google?
Yes, at my age I learned. At my age, I'm honest, I am technologically challenged, but I know how to use Google, okay? I Googled it, and I told you about this. And it was painted as the Tom Brady, a grand slam, you see?
All the sports analogies, right?
That's right. I mean, the best.
Except no one said, who? DeMarcus Russell, right? You know who that is because you're a football fan.
most everybody in here is not going to know who you're talking about.
Okay,
I know, but you do.
You might, I do.
but I did know, the thing is that we cannot do this again. You see? We cannot, I mean, I objected and I talked to you about it, and I told you this guy's a politician, and when I met with him, at my office after it was praised and all of that, and it was presented, I told him, please, be a chief. Don't be a politician. Be a chief.
Well, he's not a politician.
He is
and
a
if he's
politician.
a politician, he's a really bad one.
That's right. But we knew, I knew that he was a constant, host not host, he was invited constantly. On CNN, he was very opinionated about our governor. He was very opinionated about anything, our judges and all of that. You know that. And I told you about it. And I said, this gentleman shouldn't have been picked without properly being vetted. And we didn't vet it. Why? And that's why I'm including here in full investigation. Why? Why? Because we had a system, we had a process that was agreed by the commission, by you and the mayor. We had a committee that spent many hours interviewing and vetting the applicants and made a recommendation. Why didn't you pick any one of them? Why do we have to go and pick somebody that didn't apply, wasn't interviewed? That committee was totally disrespected. And that's why I think that that's why I presented the resolution to bring and to codify the process of selecting the police chief and the fire chief, to take politics out of it, okay? And it was, vetoed. But you should have, you or somebody else should have used at least Google, you see? I know, knowing Commissioner Carollo, I know Carollo knows more about him than he himself, you see? Because I know that he does his homework. And it would have let him do it. It is incredible that this happened. And then we are here in this predicament now and in this position unnecessarily. If things would have been done the way that should have been done. See?
Well, in all fairness, the reason why you create a process,
That's right.
it's for that reason, so everything is fully vetted, and you get to the point where you have, a number of candidates, 30-something we had in this case, semifinalists, finalists, additional interviews. That's why you have a process. So you can vet, and you can air these things out in a public setting, right? And manager, this is something I criticized the day you called me. I said, when you bypass that process, and maybe you bypass it because you got some good advice, or maybe it was Tom Brady in your mind at the time, and everybody makes mistakes, by the way. You're not the first one to make a mistake. We all make mistakes, okay? Sometimes it's good to own that mistake and say, you know what, I made a mistake. Move on, right? And correct the problem, because we have to correct the problem. We can no longer continue with this, and I'm not directing you to do anything. You're going to go through your normal process. Sorry, stop texting me, Madam Attorney. Don't worry. It's all public. We're good to go. And so I'm going to recognize Commissioner Carollo.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, and I'm trying to start because I have a lot that I want to put into the record. On the first phase, we're probably going to have to take a break for the second.
Yes, sir.
It's a lot more. Mr. Manager, again, I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable position, but it is suffice to say, I think, that from your statements that, and you tell me if you agree with it or not, that whatever vetting investigations you did were limited.
Correct.
Okay. We're in agreement with that then. Okay. Now, into what you stated, in style instead of qualifications, you do agree that qualifications include many things. Not just how many years you've been in law enforcement, but also what you did in law enforcement, and it also includes areas and morals, and things of that nature. Wouldn't you agree on qualifications?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Having said that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start reading, and for the first time, you all are going to see me with glasses, because I'll admit my eyes are not where they used to be, even though I could still read pretty good.
That's age.
But there's going to be quite a bit of reading that I'll be doing, and I want to make sure that I look at the print as big as I can, so that I could go as quickly as I possibly can and not miss anything, and because I was focused too hard, my eyes were hurting. So if you don't mind, I will put some glasses on, but I see out there a colleague that served honorably for many years.
Commissioner Dunn.
No, well, Commissioner Dunn is one.
Yes. Oh, Commissioner Plummer,
Commissioner
back there.
Plummer. We have two ex-commissioners here.
That's right.
Plummer.
Commissioner, he's over there, Commissioner Plummer.
Commissioner Plummer
My
was
old friend,
the
my
police,
old friend, but not
was the
old.
police commissioner of the day. Yeah.
Commissioner Plummer.
What was it? Kojak? What was the nickname?
I think I said the story before. He was the one that reported my car accident when I was coming from the University of Miami. He was right behind me on US 1 and 16th Avenue, and you were the one that called the police. They raided in to get the ambulance over there and take me to Jackson Hospital. I had a car accident.
And if I can add also to his, the stories, that the day that Nilio Milian, there was that bomb that
Yeah, the bomb, yeah.
that attempted his life, he got there before rescue.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
He was there.
Maybe you should be our police chief. How about that?
Oh, he'll be a great police chief.
It's good to see you here, JL. I'm glad you're looking healthy. I'm very happy to see you here. And you too, Commissioner Dunn. So let me begin. Okay.
Before you begin, Commissioner, I know because you have a long list.
I do.
I've heard, the little bird told me it's a long list of questions. I got it. I see the file. I'm looking at it from here. But I think, Commissioner, and perhaps not to open public comment, but maybe as a deference to a former commissioner, he had called and he wanted to make a few comments. Can we allow him to do that? Commissioner Dunn, you come up, please, quickly. Just say what you need to say. I know you have to go somewhere. I think you have a meeting this afternoon, and I don't want to we're going to break for lunch in a little while, so I don't want to keep you here all day. If you allow me, Commissioners. Yeah,
Not in politics no more.
Yeah, that's what happened, right?
Let me, first of all, do I need to state for the record
Yes,
my
sir.
address?
Yes, sir.
1895 Northwest 57th Street, Miami, Florida, 33142. I'm here on behalf of being first a citizen of the city of Miami, and then on behalf of the African American Council of Christian Clergy. In fact, our president, our illustrious president, Pastor Greg Thompson, asked me to speak on his behalf. I have a rhetorical question first, and then I have a comment. I'm amazed at why are we all acting so surprised? All you had to do, as my illustrious Commissioner Reyes says, is Google the current chief. Now, I believe in all fairness to him, he is a great law enforcement officer. Can't take that away from him. But the record states that wherever he was, there was always controversy. The record states that. I'm not stating that. It's there as a fact of record or a matter of fact. And it is unusual for the African American, especially Council of Christian Clergy, to somewhat be in agreement with the commissioners on this. But having served as a former City of Miami commissioner, I know it sets a dangerous precedent if we allow one person to take control of this city. It's also dangerous because for the first time it appears, after we've had a lot of bouts and fights about policing, particularly with African American men in the city of Miami. Not going to deal with that today. we're now at a point where we need to come together. And it's amazing now how this one individual has created all of this controversy, but we should not be surprised. Let me give one more other point. We were also, Commissioner Carollo, a part of that process that was designed to help to vet the next police chief. And then one day we woke up and boom, they got a guy from out of Houston. And I'm like, what, as the young people, what had happened? I didn't even know what happened. But we respected the mayor and the manager's right to make the choice. And so we took it on the chin. But this is the kind of thing that can happen when you don't do things by process. And so, you know, this whole commission and the whole city of Miami needs to see what's at stake. And moving forward, I hope that we will follow whatever we set up and not try to circumvent anything. Again, I don't know all of the details. I'm not into all of that, but I do know this. Once you've lost the vote of confidence of those who you're supposed to be leading, you're persona non grata. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. Commissioner Carollo, you're recognized, sir. Yes, sir.
I recognize the fact that you gave a professional courtesy to a former member of this commission, and I have no objections to that.
Thank you,
but,
sir.
I would respectfully request that you limit it to that, because if not,
Yes, sir.
We're going to be
You're
here
recognized for
till
your
tomorrow.
line of
Thank you.
questioning, sir. And you tell me when you want to break. You're going to get hungry
I'm
before I
gonna-
do.
I want to see if I could go through this, if we could get through it.
And you're recognized,
See how
sir.
far
Yes,
before
sir.
I get into Miami.
Yes, sir. You're
And
recognized.
again, I'm doing this so that the manager could tell me what he knew, what he didn't know. At the same time, I want to show that a lot of what he's saying now is happening now. It's a repeat of other places. So let me begin, and let me be clear. Yesterday was the only day, truly, that I spent a tremendous amount of time into past 2:30 in the morning, going over a lot of stuff that had been sent to me. Previously, a few things that were sent, I just glanced over it. So I don't have the luxury to have the time that Mr. Acevedo has for all these interviews and everything else that he does, and flying all over the place, and not being in our city where he's supposed to be at. But before I go on, let me leave that for the Miami side. Let me start with this, okay? Here, I'm going to start reading, and I apologize, as I said, that I'm going to have to do a lot of reading, because I do want to get a lot of things on the record that I was sent and find out from the manager what he knew. This is something that I first looked at last night. I'm not sure when it was sent to my office. And it's really kind of a collage of a lot of things that we were sent directly information on. Let me begin. When Art Acevedo was an officer with the California Highway Patrol, a woman with who he had a months-long affair sued him in federal court for $5 million, claiming, according to the Los Angeles Times, that Art kept sexually explicit Polaroid photographs in the glove box of his state-issued car and showed them to his law enforcement buddies. Acevedo acknowledged that he took the photographs, but said that he gave them back to the woman after the affair ended. Acevedo said that a colleague in the California Highway Patrol accidentally saw the photographs in the glove box of Acevedo's personal vehicle. The woman and Acevedo reached a settlement, but the details are confidential. 3 sexual assault survivors sued Acevedo for denying female victims of sexual assault in Austin and Travis County their right to equal access to justice and equal protection of the law. The women said that they have been failed by the people sworn to protect them, and that government officials like Acevedo have instead disbelieved, dismissed, and denigrated female victims of sexual assault, failed to have DNA evidence tested for years at a time, refused to investigate or prosecute cases of sexual assault against female survivors. And particularly, the lawsuit alleges that Acevedo allowed a massive backlog of untested rape kits to pile up during his tenure, which ballooned to 2,700 by the time he left Austin to become the Houston police chief in 2016. Tolerated a toxic culture of women, allowing a wall in the departments, this is Austin, Texas, sexual assault unit in which numerous pictures of female victims were posted, each one representing a false report that officers had unilaterally determined had no merit. Officers posted pictures of these debunked female accusers on the wall as a matter of pride, as trophies of their investigations. Participated in the toxic culture by, for example, referring to allegations of sexual assault between police officers on his force as bad sex, or something the female officer just regretted after the fact, despite evidence demonstrating injury to the female officer. During the last years of Acevedo's tenure, the Austin Police Department made 132 arrests for rape, despite at least 747 reported rape cases that year. The department claimed that it cleared another 256 cases by what they call exceptional clearances. However, an investigation showed that the department systematically misclassified cases as cleared by exceptional means. A leading expert on police investigations of sexual assault cases told ProPublica that classifying rape cases in this way was misleading at best and duplicitous at worst. The sergeant who supervised the sex crime unit during Acevedo's tenure said that she felt pressure from the department's leadership to clear more cases by using the exceptional circumstances designation. This practice is harmful because, in the sergeant's own words, it gives a false sense to the community that this case has been thoroughly investigated and closed. It's not. 2 Austin police officers accidentally recorded themselves whistling at a woman who was walking past them. The officers can be heard saying on the recording, "Go ahead and call the cops. They can't unrape you." Both officers started laughing, and one officer says again, "They can't unrape you." Acevedo gave the men a slap on the wrist and allowed them to remain employed as Austin police officers. Less than a year later, one of the officers from the recording was involved in another caught-on-camera disgrace for what local news described as belittling a homeless woman in a wheelchair. The officer can be heard saying, "I don't give a shit. I want you to get this stuff out of here," referring to the woman's belongings. The woman said, "Please, sir," and "I'm sorry," and again, "Please, sir, I'm trying to be honest with you." The officer responded, "And I am being honest with you. I am being brutally honest with you. I am not liking what I'm seeing under these overpasses." Acevedo called the behavior rude and unprofessional, but proceeded to give the officer another slap on the wrist. As recently as 2011, the Houston Police Department solved 89% of the murders that happened in that city. That was before Acevedo came to town, 2011. An investigative report in the Houston Chronicle from 2020, the last full year Acevedo served as chief of the Houston Police Department, found that the murder clearance had plummeted to 49%. That's from the 89 before in 2011. In fact, the murder clearance rate under Acevedo was lower each and every year that he served as police chief in Houston than in any of the 6 years that preceded his arrival. An internal audit revealed that members of Acevedo's staff blamed him for making policy decisions that reduced the overall numbers of homicide detectives. As to comment on the Houston Police Department declining murder solve rate under Acevedo's leadership, a leading national expert on clearance rates told the Chronicle, that's the Houston Chronicle, those levels are low by almost any standards. Acevedo was the subject of numerous disciplinary memorandums from the city of Austin. Here are some illustrative snippets. In a 2011 memo from the Austin city manager with the subject line, management improvement, the city manager raised with Chief Acevedo operational and judgment concerns. I expect you to improve before further chastising the chief. I expect you to exercise proper judgment. Art Acevedo was reprimanded again in 2013 for threatening to launch a baseless internal affairs investigation into the husband of a defense lawyer whose husband was an officer in Acevedo's force. The 2013 memo from the city attorney called Acevedo's behavior inappropriate and unacceptable and directed him to apologize in person and in writing. In 2016, a memo from Austin city manager informed Acevedo that the city had formally reprimanded him and docked him 5 days of pay for inappropriate public comments following the killing of an unarmed naked teenager by an Austin police officer. The city manager wrote, "This matter again concerns me with your lack of judgment and your failure to follow my directives in this matter." The city manager continued, "I want to make clear that future misconduct or showing further poor judgment in the performance of your duties will lead to additional personnel action up to and including termination. An internal investigation into Acevedo's behavior memorized in the memo found that Acevedo committed the offense of insubordination against the city manager, echoed that he exhibited poor judgment, and recommended that the chief be made aware of the perception by staff that retaliation by him is real. Acevedo had to apologize again after he made insensitive remarks following the arrest of a young woman outside the University of Texas campus. The police handcuffed and arrested the young woman for disregarding traffic signals while she was jogging and then failing to provide the officers with identification. After a community uproar over the arrest, which was captured on video, Acevedo held a press conference where he told reporters the young woman was lucky I wasn't the arresting officer because the officers had not charged her with resisting arrest, explaining that I wouldn't have been as generous. Acevedo continued, in other cities, there's cops who are actually committing sexual assaults on duty. So I thank God that this is what passes for a controversy in Austin, Texas. Murder, corruption, lies, sex, and perjury, the history of the Houston Police Department, and in particular the Houston Police Department's Narcotics Squad 15, plays out like a scene from Training Day. That's the opening line of a federal lawsuit filed against Acevedo, City of Houston, the county where Houston is at, during his tenure as Houston Police Chief. The lawsuit stemmed from a botched drug raid that left 2 people and their dog shot dead by a Houston police officer. In the immediate aftermath of the raid, Acevedo told the media that his team had heroically made the entry and that he was really proud of them. But a Washington Post investigation detailed the inconsistencies between Acevedo's version of events and video and documentary evidence provided by neighbors and independent investigators. Most damningly, gunshots can be heard on a recording captured outside of the home a full 30 minutes after Acevedo said the raid was had ended. The officers also said that the shots were fired inside the home, but investigators found that the woman was killed by a bullet that was fired outside of the home, casting further doubts on the officers' claims. Nonetheless, even 6 months after the raid, Acevedo continued to praise Squad 15, saying of the officers who killed the family, I still think they're heroes, and they are heroes even describing the officers as victims. Let me go into more specifically the areas that I covered here. And
I'm sorry, who said that? Okay,
May I address the chair?
no. I'll let you know when. Please sit down, sir. We're gonna
Yes,
open
Ron.
it, we're gonna allow all public input. That's what we do here. But not yet. The commissioners now have the floor. And then I'll recognize you, sir, to make your comments.
the input, as we
Okay.
stated in the beginning, Chairman,
Thank you,
is
sir.
going to be on the subject that, or subjects that we will be voting upon. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Let me go with a memorandum of April 29, 2004, by M. Nibbins, Assistant Commissioner, from Department of California Highway Patrol. Okay. And it's to Assistant Chief H.A. Acevedo. He says, on March 15, 2004, the department received an anonymous letter dated March 10, 2004, in which numerous allegations of misconduct by you were alleged. Due to the severity of the allegations and your senior position within the department, an internal investigation was initiated. Numerous interviews were completed and a thorough review of the available facts has been made. A summary of the principal allegations and the ensuing findings are specified below. You're going to have to excuse me because some of the lines here are very blurry. You missed, can we keep it quiet back there, Chair? So that we can.
Yes, sir, I already told Sergeant, make sure that everybody remains quiet until they're recognized. Thank you. I only see one sergeant back there, Mr. Quintero. I don't know where the other ones are. Oh, there you are, sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You misused your assigned state vehicle by driving after consuming alcoholic beverages. No evidence was uncovered to support this allegation. You sexually harassed numerous female employees, including unwanted touching, leering, and using your rank and/or position to gain sexual advantage. These were allegations lodged in him, from what I'm reading. With a single exception, the personnel file, the investigation led us to contact, denied any direct or indirect knowledge of such misconduct on your part. The sole female employee who did allege that you leered at her and made unwanted entries to engage in personal relationship had previously filed an official complaint in 2000. The matter was investigated and you were exonerated. Nonetheless, this female employee still maintains that the harassment did take place. Additionally, this investigation determined that in 1989, while performing as a field training officer, FTO, in the East Los Angeles area, you engaged in a personal, intimate relationship with a female employee who had been assigned as your officer trainee. However, there is no evidence of, and the involved employee did not claim, any coercion or undue influence on your part. The matter of coercion aside, your willingness to become intimate while acting as the employee's de facto supervisor demonstrates a fundamental failure to understand the most basic tenets of a superior-subordinate relationship. Indeed, you violated a fundamental trust that the department placed in you as a field training officer to remain objective and ensure your interactions with a trainee are above reproach. Although the department is precluded from taking any punitive action against you due to the statutory restrictions, Government Code Statute 19635, had management become aware of your actions at the time, adverse actions would have been sought. While involved in a personal relationship with a subordinate female departmental employee, you took sexually explicit photographs of her. You then showed the photographs to other departmental employees. The preponderance of the evidence demonstrated that you did. And remember that word preponderance. I think you heard it from him and some other matters. I wonder if this is where you remember it from. But it says, the preponderance of the evidence demonstrates that you did, in fact, have in your possession such pictures, and the photographs were shown either purposely or inadvertently to at least one supervisor and managerial employee. This is based on your admission and or the statements of the other parties involved. The existence of the pictures is not the department's concern, but once other employees had seen or become aware of them, a nexus to your employment was created. The provisions of Statute 19635, again, preclude the department from initiating adverse actions against you for this misconduct. Those are, from what I'm reading here, I believe, statute of limitations expired. This investigation also showed that knowledge of the existence of the pictures and the fact that other employees have seen them has not been confined to just those with direct involvement. This specifically includes several supervisors and managers within the department who have subsequently become aware of what occurred. Your actions and the resulting consequence have damaged the department's reputation. As part of this investigation, you were administratively interrogated on March 19, 2004. Your accounting of the pertinent events contains several inconsistencies from those of other employees, as well as contradictions with known facts. In addition, your actions indicate a pattern of poor judgment with regards to personal relationships you have engaged in with female departmental personnel. Such behavior is intolerable for any employee, but is even more detrimental and credibility damaging when committed by supervisory, managerial, and command level personnel. You are hereby directed to refrain from such conduct in the future and to comport yourself in a manner befitting the senior leadership position you held. Be advised that should you desire, Governmental Code 3306 allows you 30 days in which to file a written response to this memorandum. Such a response, if any, will be attached to the memorandum and accompanying copies. It's signed by an M. Nibbins, Assistant Commissioner. Mr. Manager, did you investigate or were you aware of any of what went on here that I just read?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let me go on because there's more, a lot more. Hope somebody liked my new look, you know? Okay. This is another memorandum, April 29, 2004, is from the same Assistant Commissioner, M. J. Nibbins of the Department of California Highway Patrol, and is to a captain of the California Highway Patrol that it says the department recently concluded an internal personnel investigation, as part of which you were administratively interrogated on March 18, 2004. Although you were not the focus of the investigation, a subsequent analysis of your actions showed that in several instances you demonstrated poor judgment and an apparent lack of understanding for applicable departmental policy. This memorandum is intended to address those concerns. In 1996 or approximately thereof, while off duty with Assistant Chief, then Sergeant H.A. Acevedo, you viewed a series of sexually explicit photographs of a new female that were in his possession. Although you did not immediately recognize the subject of the photographs, you later positively identified the employee as an officer with this department. At the time you viewed the photographs, you were a first-line supervisor with the rank of sergeant. You have subsequently shared the details of the above-described event with other departmental employees. Your judgment in this instance was poor and in direct violation of departmental policy. It says, in addition, your actions and the resulting consequence have damaged the department's reputation. Your conduct was unacceptable and will not be tolerated by this department. And he goes on, and it's signed by M.J. Nibbins, Assistant Commissioner, Department of California Highway Patrol. This is another memo dated April 29, 2004, to another captain of the California Highway Patrol. And it says the department recently concluded an internal personal investigation, as part of which you were administratively interrogated on March 17th and 26, 2004. Although you were not the focus of the investigation, a subsequent analysis of your actions showed that in several instances, you demonstrated poor judgment and an apparent lack of understanding for applicable departmental policy. This memorandum is intended to address those concerns. And it basically says the same thing as the other captain that was reprimanded. In late 1997, or approximately therein, while on duty at Southern Division, you were shown a series of sexually explicit photographs of a new female by Assistant Chief, then Sergeant H.H. Acevedo. Assistant Chief Acevedo has been storing the photographs in his assigned state vehicle. Although you did not immediately recognize the subject of the photographs, Assistant Chief Acevedo identified her as an officer assigned in a neighboring division. You were later able to positively identify the subordinate employee. At the time you were shown the photographs, you were a manager with a rank of lieutenant. And it goes on in the reprimand, and is signed by M.J. Nibbins, Assistant Commissioner. I will now this is a lawsuit filed August 16, 2005 by the victim, and I will not say her name, against the Department of California Highway Patrol, a division of the Business, Transportation, and Housing Agency of the state of California, defendant. And it also was part of another federal lawsuit against defendant Hubert Arturo Acevedo. And she claims in the lawsuit basically everything that you've heard already, that the California Highway Patrol found Mr. Acevedo in wrongdoing. And along with two pressing captains at the time.
Commissioner, I'm going to let you finish your line.
Well, I have a lot more.
I know, but we're going to break for lunch at some point, so you go ahead and finish your line. This particular, I think you have like 4 or 5 lines, is what I see your file there. You want to wait a little while? You want to break for lunch?
I'd like to go on a little longer.
Okay,
where
that's
we
fine.
go, but,
That's fine.
This is,
I know.
it's a lot here.
We'll be here the whole day. I have no problem with that. I just want to know if we break for lunch now, or do you want to finish that line of reasoning, and then we get back to it? What do you want to do?
Look,
What's your pleasure?
Commissioner Watson,
Commissioner, what's
would you
your
like
pleasure?
to break now and come back, or?
And do like a short break, like an hour and a half max?
Yeah.
Right, so we'll drag it out? An hour and a half for lunch, and we come back?
I want to be clear that I have several hours here
Yes, sir. That's
of
fine.
information that I will be going through, several hours.
Break now? So it's 1 o'clock, almost 1 o'clock, so we'll break till 2:30? We come back at 2:30, and then we'll open up for public comment. But after you finish your line, your line of questioning or your exposition, which is important. And Commissioner, let me tell you, I'm going to allow you to make your entire case, and we're going to make the entire case, because with the allegations that came out of this memorandum that he pulled out of nowhere are serious allegations. But we have to address and get to the truth, right? The truth matters here. And I think it's important for us to give everybody the opportunity, not only the commissioners, obviously first and foremost, because we're the ones that are the subject of the memo, but that the public also an opportunity to address and tell us what you think, because we want you to know. No, I can't, I'm sorry, because, it's a will of the commission. Do you want to do public, it's whatever the commission, it's a will of the commission. I understand, but the commissioners, what do you want to do?
Well, let me just read one last part here that goes together with this so I can finish
Okay,
it.
and then we're gonna break, and we're gonna come back at 2:30. You guys go to lunch. Well, you
Could I
guys
raise
go-
a point of order? The notice of meeting said that public comment would start at 11:30. You even corrected the city
Well,
attorney.
you really can't raise any point of order, to be honest with you, but it's a different point. Only we can raise point of orders. It's parliamentary. Sorry, it's just the way it works. You can have an objection if you want, but we're gonna allow all public hearing, all public testimony, as we always do. That's what we do here. You realize it's an important debate, right? So it's not a question of me going back and forth with the audience here. It's an important question, and the commissioners have their opinion. So we're gonna break. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
If,
I understand. I understand. Commissioner, go ahead and finish.
look,
And then we're gonna take a lunch break for 1.5 hours, and then we're gonna come back for an hour and a half, and we're gonna come back and maybe we'll do public comment.
as part of the statement of facts, in the lawsuit that was filed by the female California Highway Patrol officer against Mr. Acevedo, and the statement of facts, and number 7, it says plaintiff. Her name has been blocked out, began working for the California Highway Patrol as an officer in 1991. Is currently employed by CHP, officer in the Inland Division. Among other things, plaintiff has worked as a field patrol officer and driven the highways of Santa Ana, East Los Angeles, Rancho Cucamonga, and Riverside. From 1996 through at least 2001, Acevedo intentionally or recklessly showed, displayed, and/or exhibit sexually explicit photographs of plaintiff to various high-ranking California Highway Patrol officials, including but not limited to Captain, then Sergeant, is one of the ones that was reprimanded, and Captain, then Lieutenant, one of the ones that I previously read a memo that was being reprimanded. Some or all of the unauthorized exhibition or sexually explicit photographs of plaintiffs was done within the course and scope of Acevedo's duties as a California Highway Patrol officer on defendant CHP premises and during working hours. Acevedo is currently employed by CHP as a chief in the Los Angeles area. Upon information and belief, Acevedo intentionally or recklessly showed, displayed, or exhibited sexually explicit photographs of plaintiff. And I'll leave that at that. Did you, again, know any of this, Mr. Manager, or did you vet any of this?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, we're back at 2:30.
thank you.
Yes, sir.